Going to be doing a complete brake system flush on my 2009 Chevy Cobalt. A few things you're going to need are like a turkey baster, brake fluid, a few zip ties, a 3/8 inch wrench, and then if you take an old water bottle, drill a hole in the top and use a tube with a couple zip ties on it, you can actually do this with just one person. It currently has 322,028 miles on it. So usually I do this every 3 or 4 years, or about every 100,000 miles. So first thing I'm going to do is just try to suck out as much brake fluid and then fill it full of clean brake fluid. The more I can suck out, the less I have to actually go through the system. So let's see. Yeah, it's pretty dark. So brake fluid is hydroscopic and will absorb water over time, and water has a lower boiling point than brake fluid, so you have less braking power and you start to get brake fade. I replaced the front brake calipers on this car not too long ago, and I'm going to do a rear brake conversion from drum brakes to disc brakes. So I have to replace the entire rear axle. And before I do that, I want to completely flush the brake system, and that way when I'm replacing the brake system in the back, it'll take a lot less time to flush out the rest of it, and I'm not putting dirty brake fluid in my new disc brakes in the back. Alright, that's probably all I'm going to get out of this one. And you can see how dark that is. Brake fluid is highly corrosive, so you don't want to get it on your paint. Alright, so when you're flushing your brake system, you should always use a fresh bottle of brake fluid, because if you let these sit open over time, they will start to absorb moisture. So you want to slowly pour the brake fluid in so you don't stir it up too much, and that the dirty brake fluid sits on the bottom. And put the cap back on. So when you're flushing the brake system, you want to start with the rear brake that's farthest away from your master cylinder, and that way you can flush most of it out. You don't need to take off your wheels in most cases, so I'm going to back it up on ramps, and that way I can get underneath the car, hook up the bottle, and start bleeding the brakes. All right, when you're bleeding your brake system by yourself, get a water bottle or a soda bottle, rinse it out real well, make sure it's completely dry. Put about halfway, maybe a third of the way up from the top of the brake fluid you just sucked out, and then put the cap back on, and basically that allows you to pump the brakes without having to close the valve every time. And to make this is super easy. Just drill a hole in the top, put the rubber hose in there, put a couple zip ties in there just so it doesn't come out. All right, we're going to start with the passenger side first. All right, the bleeder valve takes a 10 millimeter. So I'm going to put the bottle just right below the tire in a spot where it's not going to tip over. And that fits on there pretty good, but I'm still going to put a little zip tie around it just so I can make sure it doesn't come off. Because last thing you want to do is introduce air to the system. You have to start all over again. All right, so I zip tied the hose on there just to give it a little better seal. And now I'm going to pump the brakes after I loosen it up. And now I'm going to go inside the car, pump the brakes maybe 10 times all the way down. I'm going to do this about 10 times slowly. And then as you're doing that, you want to check your level pretty regularly. I'm going to give you a shot of what it looks like in the back. All right, so I'm going to do this about 10 times and checking the level on this and the brake level on the master cylinder. You want to continually check your master cylinder level and top it off, because if you run out of brake fluid when you're doing this, then you have to start all over again. All right, now that's getting a little full, so I'm going to tighten it back up. And then you put the cap back on, a little protective cap on the bleeder valve. And empty a little bit out of your bottle. Now I'm going to do the driver's side rear. And here's the bleeder valve. You remove the protective rubber cover. Make sure that's on there nice and tight. And then crack it loose. Go pump it about 10-15 times, refill the master cylinder, and then move to the front passenger side and then the driver's side. And you tighten up the bleeder valve. Remove the hose. Replace the rubber little protective cover over the bleeder valve. Now we're going to do the front. All right, now I'm going to drive off the ramps, pull the car forward, do the same thing to the front, and get on a level surface and top off the master cylinder, and that is how you completely flush your brake system. I'm working on the driver's side right now. The wheel lug takes a 19mm. And you never want your brake reservoir to go empty, otherwise you're going to have to start this whole process over again. Torque this down to factory spec. So first thing I'm going to do after jacking the car up and putting a jack stand underneath it is zip the wheel off.